war. They have turned to Ukraine, Zelensky for help. Trump has basically told Zelensky, you figured out how to handle Iranian drones. Can you help us do the same thing? A week into this battle, what are the air power lessons? In just a moment from now, I'll be joined live and exclusive by Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa, who was the Indian Air Force chief during the Balakot airstrikes. He's speaking out for the first time in the middle of an unprecedented and historic air battle. Let's get started with the breaking news tonight. 1 week into the Middle East war, with Iran under siege, there appears to be no end to the precision aerial bombardment of Iran. The precision airstrikes continue unabated. In fact, they've actually scaled up. If you look at the sheer numbers, 1 week in, US and Israel have ramped up the Air Force offensive. The Indian Air Force is watching all of this very, very closely. Balakot Air Force Chief has decided to speak out, and first an exclusive here on NDTV. This is a story that is now 1 week into this entire war, and we are awaiting more of an official. Joining me live for his first views, his first words on this battle that began exactly 1 week ago is Air Chief Marshal Birender Singh Dhanoa. He has been the Chief of the Air Staff of the Indian Air Force and also most famously Chief at the time of the Balakot airstrikes. He's been a combat pilot and he has led India in combat operations. Air Chief Dhanoa, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on NDTV. And it's good to have you spend some time with us 1 week into this war that has been defined largely by a display of air power by the US, by Israel, also by Iran and the allied countries in that region. I'd like to start by asking you to give us your opening thoughts. 1 week into this battle, you've been looking obviously very closely at how things have been playing out. Your thoughts at this time of what's happening in the Middle East, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Shiv. Nice to be with you. Yes, like everybody who's who's an enthusiast of air power, I have also been following the conflict. And of course, it is one-sided, in which the Americans have definitely very superior technology. And it seems that they have grounded the Iranian Air Force, as well as they have nearly sunk the entire Iranian Navy. So the first lesson that comes out is that, see, if you don't dominate the air, you cannot have you will not win either the air battle or the naval battle. But yes, land is a different kettle of fish. No, the Americans were owning the air in Vietnam, but they couldn't defeat them on the land. So the first fact is this. The second is that, like the video you are just showing, even if you are inside blast pens, if the enemy has got preponderance in the air, that he can put precision weapons through your roof, and if you have a hardened aircraft shelter, he'll put 2 weapons through the same hole. So there is no way by which your Air Force will survive. So you have to have the air capability to challenge an adversarial Air Force, otherwise you will not survive.
Air Chief Dhanoa, what stands out to you in the air battle so far? It began with precision strikes. Obviously, the effort was made to completely dominate and destroy Iran's air defenses. How successful do you think the Americans and the Israelis have been so far?
As far as Iranian air defenses are concerned, I think they have been fairly successful. So what Iranians are responding to is through UAVs and drones and ballistic missiles. So this is a poor man's answer, because they cannot get their aircraft airborne. And with the lack of an aircraft, they don't carry any weight of attack. Yes, some drones have been able to get through. The drones have been able to overwhelm the defenses of the Gulf countries as well as the US. And some of them have been able to get through. And same goes with the ballistic missile. But you can't get an outcome out of that. It is a nuisance value. You can't get an outcome out of that. That is the main reason that they have been successful to some extent, but Americans are not going to bow down because of the drone strikes.
What is your assessment of how Iran has fought back, sir? Is this the best they could have done? This is a country that's been under sanctions. They've not really had access to, modern aircraft technology in that sense. With everything that you've seen so far, how do you think they've done?
No, you have to give it to the Iranians, quite creditable on their part, that they realize what are their weaknesses, because they don't have access to technology. If you don't have access to technology, you can't get world-class aircraft, world-class weapon systems. Even if you try and make your own, there are a lot of subsystems that you need to import. So they have been denied all that. So they decided to go on the way of having cheaper drones and try and overwhelm the enemy. And basically the only deterrent that the world has seen that works against the Americans is body bags. If you can create a lot of body bags, the Americans will withdraw. This is exactly what happened when that Beirut military barracks were hit in, I think, 82 or 83 or something. The 300 soldiers got killed and the Americans withdrew. So this is I think the strategy of the Iranians is very clear, is to how to create multiple American body bags so that the Americans feel the pinch. The people at home feel